Simmons College, in collaboration with the Angela Project, presents 40 Days of Prayer for the Liberation of American Descendants of Slavery. Biblically, the number 40 represents a period of testing, trial, or probation. So we are inviting you to join us in 40 Days of Prayer as we observe this 400th anniversary of enslavement in America.
Beginning July the 12th and concluding August the 20th, Christians and justice-loving people from around the world will pause to commemorate 400 years of slavery, so we might reflect on where we have been and project a new course for race relations in America.
For each of the 40 days, there will be facts surrounding slavery and Black oppression in America, and we are the voice of one prayer declarations. Also, read the actual stories of enslaved people escaping captivity through the Underground Railroad.
We who are the American descendants of slaves realize that we did not come to this country seeking a better life. We were brought against our will to help others have a better life. It's called slavery. The first woman was a woman named Angela, and that began the sad tradition of enslavement in this country. We will pause to remember their pain and project a new future.
On August 20th, at the culmination of the 40 Days of Prayer, the ceremony book will be used in services held across this nation in commemoration of this 400th year of slavery in America. So let's go global with this initiative and show the world the power of prayer. 40 days, 400 years. We are so excited that our church family is expanding. New members, we want to roll out the welcome wagon to you. It's the St. Stephen New Member Reception, August 10th, 1 p.m. at the Louisville Campus Chapel. Please RSVP with Cynthia Lisco at clisco@ssclive.org or by calling 502-583-6798, extension 1201. Be sure to save the date. A transformation is coming to this city, and it's happening right here at the Stephen. Be sure to join us Saturday, August 17th on the Louisville campus at 8:30 a.m. and 10:30 a.m. It's that time again. Time for us to take the gospel to the streets with our annual 4th Street Live Takeover. Make plans to join us again this year on Sunday, August 18th. Pass the popcorn. It's movie time. Movie night is back on Friday, July 26th, and we'll be showing Avengers: Infinity Wars. Hey Louisville, school is just about to begin again, and we're gonna bring it in with a party. The St. Stephen Kingdom Kids Sunday School Children's Ministry presents the Back to School Block Party, Saturday, August 3rd from 2 to 5 p.m. on our Louisville campus. There will be health screenings, dental screenings, supply giveaways, food, fun, and so much more. For more information, email Kim Childress at kchildress@ssclive.org.
So this is it. It's all been leading to this. Ready? Let's go.
Uh-oh, guess what day it is? Guess what day it is? Huh? Anybody? Julie, hey, guess what day it is? Oh, come on, I know you can hear me. Mike. What day is it, Mike? Leslie, guess what today is?
It's hump day.
Woo-hoo!
Today is, I can't hear you, hump day. That's what it is. And if it's hump day, it is Sunday school time, and it's time for you to get your Bible. If you don't have it, you got just a few seconds. Get your Bible, get your notes, get your pen, get your pencil, get your highlighter, Get whatever you need that you are going to want to take down some notes for this lesson today. Remind you, are we still doing the commemoration of 400 years of slavery and its evolution in America? You can get this book. Now, I'm urging you, get the book. You want it in your personal library, that you want to read it from time to time. It's just like reading. It's a daily thing for 30 days. Give you some incidents of what happened to people. Also, you get prayers. So you want to get it. You can stop by and get it at any St. Stephen campus. That's Indiana, Hardin County, or the Louisville campus. Or you can stop by Simmons and get this as well. It's a light price of $10. You know, you go to Burger King or someplace and you spend $10. So why don't you just spend $10? The proceeds go to help Simmons College of Kentucky. So you want to get this, all right? And do that for me, will you please? Come on. All right, our lesson for today is a great one. It's entitled The Experience of a People. The Experience of a People. And our lesson comes from Exodus chapter 1. That's where we're going to start. Exodus chapter 1, starting at verse 8. I'm not going to read all of it because, you know, I usually run out of time anyway. But verse 10 is the main one that I want you to take a look at. But we're going to start at verse 8. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. Now, stop right there. You remember last week when we left Joseph in prison? Well, Joseph got out of prison because God was with him. And so Joseph went before Pharaoh, interpreted the dream that Pharaoh had and no one could understand. Not only did Joseph, and this is a good one. Thank you, Holy Spirit, for bringing that up. Not only did Joseph give him what the problem was, but he also gave him a solution. And so many times we can point out the problem. We can say this is wrong, that is wrong, I don't understand, but we never have a solution. We can see the problem, but we can't see the solution. But Joseph not only told Pharaoh what the problem was, but he also told him the solution. Pharaoh said, whoa, this is a great idea. And in other words, God had revealed there was going to be a famine in all the land, and in 7 years. And so Joseph had time and made preparation for the famine that was to come. Nobody else did it. So if you remember, it even got down into Canaan and where Jacob and his sons were. And so he sent 10 of his sons, because Jacob thought all he had was 11. So he kept Benjamin. Still playing the favorite. He sends 10 of them to Egypt to get grain. And of course, Joseph knew his brothers, but they didn't know Joseph. Why would they? They thought Joseph was dead. And here he is, second only to Pharaoh in Egypt. What a mighty God we serve. Because when God lifts you up, nobody can put you down. And when God puts you down, nobody can lift you up. And so now, Joseph, everybody remember Joseph. Joseph got married, had 2 sons, reconciled with his brothers, had his dad and the family all brought to Egypt, took care of them. But our lesson in Exodus starts. Now there arose a new king over Egypt who did not know Joseph. And he said to his people, behold, the people of Israel are too many and too mighty for us. Verse 10, come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us, and escape from the land. Therefore, they set taskmasters over them with heavy burdens. We're going to stop right there. And let's look at this. The thing that I just thought is that needs to be pointed out is Pharaoh said, "Come, let us deal truly with them." Now we're going to come back to that one more time again, but keep that one in mind. Highlight it, if you please. Now, in our previous lessons, we talked about Hagar, and then we talked about Joseph, and we examined the personal experience of slavery from their point of view. In this week's lesson, we consider slavery as a means of social control, a calculated policy of oppression and domination. Let me say that again, because that has to be, you got to get that in your spirit. This lesson, we will consider slavery as a means of social control. Before, we looked at it at a personal level, our personal experience. But this is now a social control. That's why we talked about it's called the experience of a people. So let's first look at the plan. The plan. The enemy always has a plan for you. The enemy does not step out. In fact, Jesus even talked about, he said, who will go to war without first counting the cost, having a plan? Who would build a house without having a plan? And so here Pharaoh says, now we're going to deal shrewdly, but he has a plan. The Egyptian plan was not about economic enrichment. It was not about that. The Egyptian plan was not about building projects. It's not about that. Even though he said we're going to build cities, we're going to build pyramids, it wasn't about projects. The Egyptian plan was explicitly aimed at social control, because he said, now, lest they multiply, and if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land. So this is about social control. We need to have them in the land and on our side. Now, let me move from the Egyptian plan to slavery in America. Slavery in America, the plan was about economic enrichment, because those who had slaves certainly were economically impacted by having slaves. I mean, my sisters and brothers, who could not be economically enriched or impacted if you got someone working in your house, working your land, doing the cooking, doing the cleaning, doing everything, and you don't have to pay them anything? Well, I tell you what, my house wouldn't be dirty right now if I could get somebody to come on in there and do it, and I didn't have to pay them. Cut the grass, clean the house, mop the floor, cook my dinner, and I didn't have to. Of course, I would see an economic impact. And that's what slavery did. And what I'm talking about, it had an economic impact, even not just, and we hate to go this way, but I'm going to have to go this way. It was an economic impact and caused the church to flourish. There, I said it. We like to think, oh no, and that's the problem. We need to take off our mask. Because too many times we come up into church pretending, playing, we holier than thou. But what have we done Monday through Saturday? Now, let me just give you a little illustration. When I was growing up, not too far, grew up right on 15th and Brackenridge. And one of the things that we did we play church. Yeah, we play church. And I had one cousin, he was male, and since he was a boy, of course he had to be the preacher. And all the rest of us, we were in the choir, we were singing, we were the congregation, because my family mostly were women. And so he would get these glasses and set them on his eyes, and he would do the preacher voice, and whoa, and oh, you know, David, he could do it. And we were all in the choir. We fall out like we were shouting. We were playing church. And I offer to you today that too many of us are still playing church. We live one way Monday through Saturday, but Sunday morning, here we come. And we are holier than thou. So, and the church was involved in slavery, in doing what they did. And that's how come the church needs to take the lead in bringing about reconciliation among the different people. So, but let me move on. The Egyptian plan was not about building projects. Well, slavery in America was about building some projects. Even the slavery that we see, we won't identify now as being slavery. But guess what? We take people who are confined to the jail and we take them out to clean the roads, to clean things. They not getting any pay. If that is not projects being done, I don't know what is. But the Egyptian plan was explicitly aimed at social control, and slavery in America was aimed at social control. And it still goes on today, and we'll come back to that. The motive for all of this was fear. Fear was the motive for the plan. And they were fearful of the Israelites because they said there was too many and they were too mighty. So they enslaved them. So the plan. Let's now look at the policy. Verse 10, come, let us deal shrewdly with them, lest they multiply. And if war breaks out, they join our enemies and fight against us and escape from the land. Now, the policy. Come, let us deal shrewdly. You got to get this. Now, when we think and read the word shrewdly, we always think underhand. Let's deal with them underhandedly. But if you look up the word shrewd or shrewdly, it means being astute. It means being farsighted, alert with all of one's wits. It means being perceptive, being clever. And this is what we see. So we can't always just think it's underhand, even though there are times it is underhand. But shrewdly means, let me look ahead. And many times while we are sleeping, the enemy or somebody who's got a problem with you is shrewdly dealing with the problem. Now, I'll make my point. Them saying shrewdly implies a lack of transparency. While we're at that point, I made a note here because I wanted to say this, because on Mondays at 6 o'clock, you can get the lesson, the Millenniums, by the Millenniums, for the Millenniums, at 6 o'clock on all of the YouTube, the ssclive.tv, and what's that other? Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff. Corey Bailey presents the same lesson. You need to watch it because it's amazing how we have the same lesson and we see it differently. And that is so good, how everybody can read the Bible, but it doesn't always necessarily speak the same way to you as it does to me. It speaks to the situation, all right? But he made an interesting question. Write that down, Monday, 6 o'clock. He had an interesting question. How is it that they could treat Joseph like they did, they brother. He's talking about Joseph's 10 brothers. How could they throw him into a pit and then sit down and eat and then get up and lift him up out of the pit and sell him into slavery? And the answer was, they did not see him as their brother. Woo! Drop the mic on that one. They did not see him, and that's the problem. Many times, we do not see each other. We say, especially in church, sister so-and-so, brother this, sister that. But do we really see each other as sisters and brothers? Do we see each other as human beings? If we did, how could we treat one another as we do? So, and this is what they do shrewdly. They didn't see them as human beings, as made in God's image. What God? They worship idol gods. So they did not see, or it lacked transparency. They didn't see them. It implies dealing shrewdly, implies manipulation. And that is what we see happen among us while we were in slavery. I'll give you, for instance, perhaps the master might see a young lady that caught his fancy and had relations with her. She becomes pregnant. Now, what happens to the child? The child is light. The child might have different texture of hair. And the child is the offspring of the master. So he may decide, I don't want my child out there in the field. So he brings him into the house. Not just his child, but what about those? Because we as a people have many different shades and colors. And so we have been set one against the other, light skin, dark skin. Can I just get real for a moment? Just for a moment. When we were in slavery, it was house niggas versus field niggas. Now, I'm not going to use that no more, but there it is. I'm just being transparent myself here. And that created a division. And one of the sitcoms that you need to look up, it was great. It was great. I was thinking about having it today, but I didn't know whether we could or couldn't show it, so there it is. But go back and call up an episode on Blackish. I don't even look at the program at first because I didn't like the name. What kind of name is that, Blackish? You know, that is Anthony Anderson and Tracy Ross. And I looked at it one day. It was about light-skinned Negroes versus darker skin. And we need to cut that out. That has been a division among us, and we think that our lightness, our brightness, but, let me just put it this way. The interesting thing was each side, the one who was dark said, you all always think that you better than us because light is white, is right. You think you were white. And then the light skin said, we have never been black enough. And so we need to cut that kind of stuff out. But it started being pitted one against the other. And in this land, the land of the home of the free and the brave, it is terrible the way that we don't look at each other as sisters and brothers, but we look at each other because of our color of our skin, skinny versus fat, salary, where do you live? When you go across the railroad track, folks won't come down past 9th Street because for some reason this is the Wild Wild West. It is time out for all of this type of thing. And this is what dealing shrewdly. Do you see how shrewd that is when you deal with it as to set one against the other, and we are still buying into it. Deal shrewdly with us by stereotyping, saying, you know, blacks they lazy. Whew. Nobody in my family was permitted to be lazy. Nobody. Now, I'm not saying that there are not some who are not lazy, because yes, they are. But here's the news flash. So are some white people. So are some Asian folks. So are, that's just people are lazy. It's not about the color. It's about the character. I told you last week, they stripped Joseph of his coat, but not his character. And we need to stop putting people down because of the color of their skin, or where they work, or where they went to school, or how much schooling they have, or what side of town they live on. Dealing shrewdly. Another way they laid the groundwork for denomination was redlining. Now, we're going to show you redlining. Now, you might wonder, what the heck is redlining? Well, what we see here is that, and this was done by the government. They looked at a map and they decided that in certain neighborhoods, and you will see the one where it's red, those areas that were green, they were the top dogs. The other ones that are yellow, well, they was kind of in between and all right. But the red section is the one that many low income, particularly black folks, were discriminated against. They refused to give, if you lived in that area, and many times you couldn't get out of the area. It was based on your income. And even when your income improved, you still wasn't allowed to go. And this was set down. The banks were involved in it. Financial institutes were involved in it. In fact, all the nation involved in it. Now, you may think it's gone today. You may think, oh, well, that was then, but this is now. Because you see, you've been drinking the same Kool-Aid Mitch McConnell's been drinking. See, that's it. Because it still goes on today. Where I live, I can't even get a pizza delivered to me. I call one pizza place. I ought to call the name, but I'm not going to call the name. I call one pizza place. They right there on Broadway. And they say, oh, no, we don't deliver there. You have to call such a location. I called them, and they say, oh, no, you need to call Broadway. Neither one of them deliver. And I'm about 5 minutes away from 7th Street Road location and 5 minutes away from the Broadway location. But neither will do it. Okay? How about this? I had my car insurance, and I had this insurance for a long while. And so one day I wrote to them when they sent me another letter saying, going up. Wait a minute. I have not filed a claim. I have paid my money on time all the time. Why are you going up on me? This premium started out at, let's say, for complete coverage, I got it for $99 a month. And now you're telling me $375? I haven't filed not one claim. What's the problem? And you know what they told me? It wasn't that I haven't filed a claim. It was where I live. Woo! If I'm excited, I'm excited because this is still going on today. So needless to say, I dropped them and found somebody else. And they want to know, how can we rectify this? If you think that is something, go and price gas. Gas in the western half, sometimes you have to travel. It doesn't make sense that gas in the west end can be over $3 and you travel to an area where people can afford the gas better than the west end can, and there might be $2.79 and we sitting at $3.09. There's something wrong. There is something wrong. Now, I'm not going to talk about going to the store, but yeah, go to the store. And you will see prices are higher and quality is lower in the West End. They have no problem having a brown or overripe banana, or the vegetables or the meat look day old, because, help me somebody, they take the day old meat from the East End and ship it down to the West End. Come, let us deal truly with them. And this is what, and here is the thing, it has been put into law. Redlining was put into law to keep us down. It was the law. Now, so they set taskmasters over to afflict them. And the Egyptians' only stated task was to afflict the slaves. It was, and when you afflict them, it caused oppression. And oppression, when you got the whip, then you become ruthless. And when you become ruthless over me, now bitterness springs up in me. And this is the way, and this is how it went. So, now, just in case some of you think, well, we living here in the city of Louisville and that doesn't happen, let me just tell you, I thought maybe I would. We got that, go down to 2nd and Main Street, and there is a plaque. There it is, the plaque that is at 2nd and Main, slave trading in Louisville. And it said by the 1850s, Kentucky was annually exporting between 2,500 and 4,000 of its slaves downriver to the large plantations farther south. In fact, interesting note, the slaves would try to get to the Ohio River and cross over. And do you know what the Ohio River was nicknamed? The River of Jordan. Because if they could get over the Ohio River and get into Indiana or to a northern state, it was freedom. So, and so here's what they did. To prevent runaways, traders operating near the Ohio River kept slaves shackled together in pens when not being displayed to buyers. Slave traders were often social outcasts, avoided by all but fellow traders. Now, how could you do that? Because you don't see one another as brothers. And so we ourselves here in Louisville played a big part in the slavery as well. Well, let me go back to the scripture because my time is almost up now. Exodus chapter 5, verse 4. We'll start there and we'll stop probably by, we'll see where we'll stop. Verse 4. But the king of Egypt said to them, Moses and Aaron, why do you take the people away from their work? Get back to your burdens. Let me just say this. God had called up Moses and gave him Aaron because all the excuses that Moses made, I can't talk and blah, blah, blah. He said, I'll send somebody. And they go to Pharaoh and say, thus said the Lord, let my people go. All right. And so Pharaoh said, and Pharaoh, Pharaoh being Pharaoh, he said, and who is the Lord that I should obey him? Neither will I let these people go. Now, back to the reading. Moses and Aaron, why do you take the people away from their work? Get back to your burdens. No, he don't even say work. He said burdens. And Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the land are now many, and you make them rest from their burdens. There it is again. The same day, Pharaoh commanded the taskmasters of the people and their foremen, you shall no longer give the people straw to make bricks as in the past. Let them go and gather straw for themselves. But the number of bricks that they made in the past, you shall impose on them. You shall by no means reduce it, for they are idle. You see how we start stereotyping? For they are idle. How could they be idle? They in slavery and been working from sun, can't see in the morning to can't see at night. So, therefore, they cried, let us go and offer sacrifice to our God. Let heavier work be laid on the men, that they may labor at it and pay no regard to lying words. Because they said, look, we get tired. We can't make bricks without straw. Don't pay any attention to the lying words. Well, so you always got a pushback. Moses and Aaron go to Pharaoh, and they give Pharaoh God's message. Let my people go, that they may hold a festival to me in the desert. What you see here is truth speaking to power. Truth speaking to power. And throughout the history, and my sisters and brothers, we have got to begin to teach our children their history. Now, throughout history, you have had someone to rise up. God will raise up somebody that has truth speaking to power. One of the organizations was the Black Panthers. We really don't even know much about the Black Panthers, all because we have been brainwashed. But the Black Panthers were the ones who looked around and said what we need to do, just like our foreparents, the Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, our forefathers. The Black Panthers believed in education. And what they thought, they took a look at the whole thing. Truth speaking to power. They are saying we need not to catch them up here, but we need to get the babies, the young ones. So they gave a head start, meaning we need to give our children a head start. But we cannot expect them to learn if they're hungry. So what do? You feed the babies. So Head Start fed the children. And even on, and the reason I know what I know because I worked at Head Start for so many years. Feed them the breakfast and their lunch and a snack before the bus picked them up to carry them home, because we couldn't be sure how much they would have to eat at home. And on a Friday, the snacks would be later and larger because we didn't know how long or what the child would eat over the weekend. But this is the way it was set up, and it was thought of by the Black Panthers, that we don't know. You cannot train a child or teach a child, expect a child to learn if they're hungry. Then they said, okay, and you can't expect them to learn if they don't feel good. So that's how come Head Start push. They have to take the child to the doctor. And every child that was in Head Start, we had a physical done on them. They said, if they may feel, if we can't learn if you're hungry, don't feel good, or your self-esteem is down. And so guess what? They said that means one child wouldn't smile. Why? Because of their teeth. So guess what? They will have to go to the dentist. This is truth speaking to power. And certainly we remember truth speaking to power from Martin Luther King when he had his I Have a Dream speech. I don't have time to read it all, or just some of it, but the part that I like is this part. In a sense, we come to our nation's capital to cash a check. And this was done August the 28th, 1963. In a sense, we come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But, you got to watch the but, we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. And so we come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. Now, if you want to talk about reparation, we're not necessarily always talking about a check, but give us what we want. And that is the demand of freedom and security of justice. We should not have to be afraid every time we see a policeman that they are going to stop us simply because we are a black male. No. Every one of us, and that was truth speaking to power. Now, and the punishment they were to do was bricks without straw. And our punishment has been trying to make a living without living wages. You give us a little bit. I don't know who said it takes more for people who live in the East End to have 3 times more money for them to live than people in the West End. Now, if my prices at the store is higher and your prices are lower, look like to me I need more money. But you get the money. I declare, I think sometimes some people of other persuasions got holidays that we don't know about. Because when you go to the malls are lined up with folks. And I'm thinking, well, when do people go to work? Now, I'm retired, so I can go to a mall. But before I go, let me just bring out this, because this is within this lesson. There's a great verse that I love. It comes from Exodus chapter 3 Exodus chapter 3. Highlight this in your Bible. Highlight this in your Bible. Starting at verse 7 and a part of verse 8. Exodus chapter 3, verse 7. Then, woo. See, when you got a then that starts the verse, it says, that means you need to go back. Then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in Egypt, and have heard their cry. Let's go back. Then the Lord said, I have surely seen the affliction of my people who are in West Louisville in Kentucky, and have heard their cry because of their taskmaster. Oh, I love this verse, you all. I'm telling you, I know. See, our God knows. I know their sufferings, and I have come down to deliver them out of the hand of the Egyptian. Oh, I'm jumping. My fault. I got happy. Who are in Egypt because of the cry of their taskmaster. I know they're suffering. Yeah, I got it right. Okay, I need to go solo off of this because this is the English Standard Version. The King James Version said, I have seen their suffering. I have heard their cry. I know what they're crying about. So I have. Did you get that? I am come down. Remember when Moses said, well, who shall I say sent me? He said, tell them I am. That's my name. I am. And so in chapter 3 of Exodus, he said, I have heard, which means he's got ears to hear. Whoa, thank God for that. He said, I have seen, which means I got eyes to see. I know, which means he's an intelligent God. And now I am come down to deliver my people out of the hand of Egypt. I'm going to tell you, stop worrying about who's in the White House, in the State House. God says, I am in control, and I am come down to see about you. Does he care? Yes, he cares. Does he know? Yes, he knows. Does he see? Yes, he sees. Does he hear? Yes, he hears. And he said, just hold on. I am come down, and I will deliver my people. That's all the time I got today, but before I leave, I want you to remember 6 o'clock on Mondays, every Monday, check in on my brother. I could call him, he young enough to be my son. My son, a great teacher, great a host. He is Corey Bailey. You want to tune in and hear him. He is going to do the same lesson, and I guarantee you he's going to have a different slant. Don't matter if he got the same slant. You can never get too much of God's word. All right? See you next Wednesday. All right? Be blessed.